Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. The Phils' nightmare sixth inning in the series finale against the Red Sox cost them the game, or at least a chance to win it. And who's more to blame? Rob Thomson, Jesus Luzardo, Caleb Cotham. There's a lot of stuff that needed to go better last night for the Fighting Phils.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me from some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic doing sports talk radio here in Philadelphia for over 5 years. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for 4 seasons, and this is now my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure that if you're listening to this in podcast form, and we're available wherever you get your podcasts, you rate and review. That would really help us out. I appreciate it if everyone could do that. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button for the Locked On Phillies YouTube channel. It's free and easy to subscribe, and it will get you notifications when new episodes are posted. So just hit that subscribe button in the corner of your screen, and that way you'll be caught up on all of our stuff. It really helps us out too on Locked On Phillies, so I appreciate everyone who's done that and everyone who's going to do that. Now, today, we're going to start by talking about last night's series-ending loss to the I almost said Boston Celtics. I guess it's almost Sixers season. I'm wearing my Flyers hat right now if you're not watching on YouTube. So we're getting there. But no, the Boston Red Sox, rather. We're going to talk about the 6th inning that Jesus Luzardo went through and whether or not Rob Thomson should have pulled him. If so, when? Caleb Cotham, should he have said something? Was Rob Thomson asleep at the wheel? So we're just going to talk about decisions from the game last night, because a lot of people are upset about Rob Thomson and how he handled it, and I'm not happy with the manager either. We're also going to talk about, in our second segment, the offense getting going a bit. I don't want to lead with the positive because there are too many things that were missed last night. It was a missed opportunity to win a game, but they did hit 5 home runs. We will talk about guys that did that and what it's projecting. I think I made up a word there for them as they get ready for a series with the Yankees in New York this weekend. And then because the Phillies are off tonight, it's going to be an off-day standings check-in, as we always do. The standings, we haven't done this in a while because of the All-Star break and everything. They've significantly shifted around baseball, so we will talk about that. But let's start with last night's game. So through 4 innings, and I realize now it says a nightmare 6th inning for the Phillies. It was a 5th inning for the Phillies last night, so ignore the graphic. But Jesus Luzardo was good through 4 innings. The Phillies jumped out to a big 5-0 lead. And you're like, okay, we're chilling. This is going to be a situation where you just kind of run out the clock. Luzardo gets you 6 or 7 innings maybe. If it's 5 or 6, whatever. Then you go to the bullpen, maybe you add 1 or 2 on, but they're not scoring 5 off you. They haven't done much against you all series. And then the 6th inning happens, and it all implodes. So it starts with a couple of doubles and then some walks, and then Jesus Luzardo gets 2 outs. And this is the problem with the people that are crushing Rob Thomson. It's just like a lot of what went wrong, walking in multiple runs, giving up a grand slam, all happened with 2 outs. So at least the argument can be made, hey, Rob Thompson's looking at his pitcher saying he's 1 out away. Like he's 1 pitch away from being out of this inning. And if he does that rather than giving up the grand slam, like let's just say that was a pop-up, a deep pop-up. The next thing you know, it's still 5-2, and you can continue to throw Luzardo because his pitch count wasn't crazy high, right? So he's trying to get more out of Luzardo. But did he deserve to still be in the game? Should he have sent something sooner? My argument would be yes. Like I understand that Rob Thomson was wrong. That was the part of the podcast where I say I understand why he went wrong. I like to just to me, it does not feel like enough. And this is why I get characterized as like a Phillies apologist sometimes. I'm not trying to tell you they're right all the time when I mention like the thought process behind what they did and why they did it. I just think saying somebody's wrong is not enough. Saying somebody's wrong and then breaking down why you think they made that wrong decision. And if there's validity in that, that seems to be a much more fair and in-depth evaluation of how people act in sports and life, all of that stuff. So Rob Thomson was flat out wrong. Jesus Luzardo should have been pulled. But I do think part of that was just like, he's got 2 outs. He's 1 pitch away. Trust my guy. But when I would have pulled him, would have been after the second walk with the bases loaded. Once you walk in a second run in an inning where you already have multiple walks before that, you're done. And nobody was even warming up at that point. And that is a major misstep as well. Like if Rob Thomson had someone warming up and chose not to go to him, that would honestly defend Rob Thompson's management style more in last night's game. But he didn't even have anybody up. So it's just like, wow, you're just hanging him out to dry. Like you can kind of smell what we're all smelling, right? Because if you were watching that game, it became very apparent Luzardo had lost it. And that's why it's on Rob Thomson more. Now, Caleb Cotham went out and talked to Jesus Luzardo, and I don't know what that conversation was, obviously. We're not privy to that, but clearly whatever it was did not work. I'm not going to blame Caleb Cotham too much, but it may have been a situation where you need to come back to Rob Thomson and say, yo, I don't know. Maybe get somebody hot because I don't like what I'm hearing from him. He says he's not feeling it. But at the same time, you know what happens when you have those conversations with pitchers? Do you know what percentage of time you walk out to the mound at any level, any pitcher, and you ask them, hey, how you doing? If they're a competitor, they're going to tell you, I'm fine. Leave me alone. Right? Whether they are or not, whether they feel it or not, they don't want to be taken out of that ballgame because you're taught forever to not show that weakness. And how does that conversation go if he comes out and Jesus Luzardo is like, take me out, coach, I don't have it? Then you have second guesses about that player for the rest of the time he's with the team. Is he a big-time player? Does he want the ball in these big spots, right? So it's kind of this double-edged sword. But end of the day, the manager doesn't go out there and chat with him. The manager sits in the dugout and evaluates what's going on in front of him, and Rob Thomson missed it. And he said after the game as much, right? He said, that's on me. I take full responsibility for that. I should have had somebody up. I should have gotten into the bullpen sooner, and didn't. And that's on him. Now, what's wrong with Luzardo? That's another part of this. I do want to blame Luzardo a little bit because ultimately the man in the arena, he's the one that throws the pitch that the performance is based on, right? Here's his issue. And he talked about this after the game. He's not throwing well from the stretch. So this is a very simple breakdown of how we got to where we are. Starts the season, is throwing well. Teams pick up something. He's tipping pitches. That's when he has the bad stretch of Milwaukee touching him up, Toronto touching him up. And next thing you know, he's trying to figure out what he needs to change in order to avoid giving up 8 or 12 earned in a start. He makes an adjustment to where he's holding his glove. Mainly, that adjustment protects from, the first base coach, the third base coach from seeing potentially what he's throwing, but a runner on second from seeing what he's doing as far as his grips and relaying signs to the batter. What that means is that he's less comfortable from the stretch because pitchers need to focus, right? They need to be zoned in on, this is my pitch, this is my location, this is how I want to throw this, how much I want to take off or add velo. Like, there's so much the pitchers think about. They're the only premeditated position in baseball. And when you introduce to that, I got a guy on second now. I'm thinking about where I'm holding my hands. Can he see it? Can he see it? What am I throwing? Okay, you don't execute as well. Now, part of that is, hey, man, you got to mentally be able to handle that type of stuff. That's major league pitching. But part of that is just understanding why he's struggling with runners on base. And it also throws off his mechanics from the stretch because his hands are in a different spot. We've talked about that previously. So he's in a tough spot where he feels like if he doesn't do what he's doing, people are going to pick up and he's going to be tipping pitches and he's going to get shelled. But if he does do what he's doing and runners get to second, he's not going to have his best stuff because he's going to be mechanically imbalanced or he's going to be thinking about something else. So this is why Luzardo is such a crapshoot and why I like his upside as a pitcher, but I'm not sitting here saying, okay, I'm very, very comfortable with him starting a postseason game, right? Like, I don't know. We'll see what he is over the course of the remainder of the regular season. He's got major upside. He's got major downside. So that's the Luzardo part of the equation. And then there were just a couple other decisions in the game that some people didn't really like from Rob Thomson. The main one being Weston Wilson pinch running for Kyle Schwarber in the 10th inning and then promptly getting thrown out trying to steal second. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think that was. Okay, so Johan Rojas was already in the game. You cannot pinch run Rojas. That would have been the better option because he is the fastest guy on the team, but that's not available. So you pinch run Weston Wilson, who is the fastest guy remaining on your bench. It was either him or Rafael Marchand. Because remember, Edmundo Sosa is already in the game, and because Alec Bohm is currently injured, and Rojas already in the game. So, like, you had to pinch run Weston Wilson. He was the only fast guy. Well, why do you do that for Schwarber? Because Schwarber just got on base. His spot won't be up for a while. The thought is you can end this game in the next couple of innings, right? That's the idea of what you are able to do there if Weston Wilson is able to steal second and score. Why else would it be beneficial for Weston Wilson to try and swipe second there? Well, Nick Castellanos is at the plate. After Nick Castellanos, you're looking at Romuto and Kepler, right? And if you go without that, it's Romuto, Kepler, and then Marsh or Stott. I forget who was in the lineup. But bottom line is, if you get thrown out there, Castellanos starts off the next inning with a runner on second. You'd much rather have him up there because he's the best remaining hitter in your lineup at that point. And the other thing that is probably most important in this equation is Rob Thomson probably looked at who was available in his bullpen. I was like, we're in trouble if we have to try and pitch another inning on the mound. We need to try and win this now. So you pinch run Weston Wilson. You take a shot to try and get to second base. Then Castellanos singles, drives him in. Next thing you know, you win a ball game, right? That's what the thought process is there. It's like our bullpen is thin. We need to try and win this now. If it doesn't work out, at least we have Casty up to start the next inning. But I don't trust the guy that I'm about to send out there for the 11th. And I'd prefer not to get to that point. So was it the smartest move? No. Was it done out of desperation because I don't think Rob Thomson trusts his bullpen very much, and he shouldn't? Yes. So that one I'll defend him on. The Luzardo thing, you can't. You just can't. He dropped the ball and might have cost his team a chance to sweep the series. They still won the series, and they'll carry that going on into the series with the Yankees that starts over the weekend. But coming up next, we're going to talk about the offense because you notice I didn't mention any of that. It was a 9-8 loss in 11 innings for the Phillies last night. Still scored 8 runs, 5 homers in the game, including a milestone for Bryce Harper. Has this offense figured something out? We'll talk about it as we continue today's episode. Let's talk about Game Day Hugh first, because Game Day Hugh, they are awesome. We haven't talked about them yet, I believe, but they sent us some wonderful stuff, some hats, some golf gloves, and I got to tell you, they are awesome pieces of gear. Game Day Hugh makes clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, on the course, or anywhere in between. Like I've worn, because I got this stuff about 2 weeks ago, and this is the first time we've had a scheduled ad for Game Day Hugh. So I've been waiting to talk about this stuff, honestly. I've worn the hat multiple times on the golf course. They actually sent me 2 hats. I wear it to work all the time. You've seen it in the podcast, maybe without even knowing about it. It's just great. And the Phillies, like, kind of weird color scheme, right? You can get the regular red, but then they also have the throwback maroon and the powder blue and stuff like that. And I'm looking around and I'm like, I don't have any maroon stuff. I got the maroon throwback colored Game Day Hue hats, and they go perfect with any of the Phillies throwback stuff. Wear it forwards, wear it backwards, fits great, great quality. I can't say enough about this. And also, they have golf gloves. I wore one for one of the best rounds I played all year just a couple weeks ago. So right now, you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GameDayHue.com. That's GameDayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals, so now's the time to load up. Let your colors talk because colors speak louder than words. That's GameDayHue.com, code MLB15. And remember, they've got everything from golf gloves to hats. It says here in the ad copy, show the gloves. It's already in my golf bag. That's how much I like it, but they're sharp. So go ahead and check it out. Again, that's GameDayHue.com, code MLB15. Let's talk about the offense from the series that the Phillies just finished up, or rather just the game that the Phillies finished up, the final game of that series with the Red Sox. Because as much as the Luzardo implosion in the 5th inning, giving up 6 runs there, giving up the lead, the Phillies actually came back and tied the game, forced extras, and part of that was due to a strong offensive day. And 5 home runs will make you feel pretty darn good about the way these guys are swinging the bat, especially who hit them. So let's just go down the list from least surprising to most surprising when it comes to the home runs, and I'll give you my thoughts on that. Obviously, the least surprising is Kyle Schwarber hitting his 34th home run of the season. Like, he is on an unbelievable tear. There's no surprise when he goes yard anymore. He hits a bomb last night. That's great. He's red hot. I love to see red hot Kyle Schwarber. He's going to cost you money, but he's worth it because this dude's going to hit 45 home runs this year. Already at 34. He's still got 2 months remaining. Yeah, he might hit more than that. He might touch 50. I don't know. He's red hot right now, so I don't want to put too much on it, but he's the best home run hitter on this team. Bryce Harper goes yard. It's his 350th of his career. So congrats on the milestone. Awesome to get there. I was doing the math. He's probably going to get to 500 in a Phillies uniform. Maybe a little tight there, but if he plays the remainder of his contract or maybe even an extra year or two, he's going to get to 500 as a Philly or get pretty darn close to it. He's on an unbelievable pace. He's been red hot lately. If you're looking at Schwarber and Harper as guys that can carry this lineup, you're absolutely right now. Now, the pitching's still going to have to be good. Adding depth to the lineup is ideal. But Harper, Schwarber, both go yard. Again, I feel like those guys are both on a tear at the same time for the first time in forever. And Nick Castellanos goes yard. That's another one that's not all that surprising to you, but it's good to see because he hasn't really shown off the pop this year. If he adds a little bit of pop in the middle of the lineup, that would be helpful, but that's not what he's going to be. And it's not what he needs to be with Schwarber and Harper going off. So it was nice to see from Casty. JT goes yard. And I love to see that, right? Because JT has been batting close to 400 since the start of the month of July, but he hasn't really shown off that power yet. It's more just been these little gap bloops or finding holes, which is fine. Like you'll take that, especially compared to what he was doing earlier on in the season. But if he adds a little bit of that old JT power to this, something to keep an eye on. And the most improbable home run of all, Bryson Stott goes 2 for 4 with a double, a homer, and an RBI. And that was awesome to see from him. But we have a little issue with Bryson Stott. I want to talk about this. So first and foremost, Stott doing this would be huge, right? If he just somehow came out of this slump and became a hitter that we've seen for stretches in his career. It's not unfounded, but certainly hasn't looked like it much of this year at all. A guy with a little bit of pop that's going to hit 280, 290, maybe even 300. No, that's not who he's been this year. And it's not who you should expect him to be. But sometimes the unexpected happens in a positive way. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on what Stott can give this team. But here's the issue with Bryson Stott. Hadn't really been hitting home runs. Hadn't really been hitting. Hadn't really had extra base hits. Last night, he changed his walk-up song. He changed it because he just had a new baby boy. Congratulations to the Stott family. His second child, I believe. So dad strength 2 times over. But he changed his walk-up song to honor his new baby boy. And he changed it from the most iconic walk-up song on the team, which is A-OK by Ty Verdes. Now, you change the walk-up song. You go up there. You double. You homer. You have an RBI. I love him having A-OK as his walk-up song, right? Like, I love it. Crowd gets into it. Suits him well. Just kind of, it's like, it's not quite to this level, but I'll liken it to Cashmere for Chase Utley. Just, you know who's coming up when you hear that song. And I don't want that to ever change. And I wonder now if he's going to change his walk-up song permanently because he had such success with the old one. Or maybe he'll go back to A-OK at some point. That's something to keep an eye on. But no, obviously this is not a problem. He can walk up to whatever he wants. Like, I'd like it to continue to be the song that I like. But the more important thing is Stott and Real Muto go yard. Kepler went yard the night before, even though Kepler followed that up with an abysmal performance and a bad strikeout to end the game, taking down the middle 2 outs in the 11th inning, whatever. Bottom line is this. You saw flashes in this Red Sox series of the lineup looking deeper. And that's something Dave Dombrowski talked about, and we've talked about on the podcast. And if you get home runs on and off from guys like that, you don't expect a home run every 10 plate appearances from guys like JT or Bryson Stott. But if you get one every week and a half from those guys, coupled with Schwarber, Harper, Turner, Castellanos doing what they need to do at the top of the lineup. Bohm comes back. Maybe you add somebody at the deadline. This lineup is not the problem, right? It's a problem, but it's not the problem. Could it be deeper? Yes. But look around baseball, okay? Every lineup could pretty much be deeper unless you're the Los Angeles Dodgers, right? The Phillies are going to have to roll in with holes in their lineup. Every team does. Every team has a guy where it's just like, man, I hope that guy's not up in a big spot. Even the great teams. And the Phillies are a really darn good baseball team. So don't act like this is anything different. My point is just this, because I tweeted out about the lineup and the bullpen and the comparison yesterday. People got mad at me on Twitter a little bit. And I was going heavily in favor of the lineup not being the problem. But you need to understand where I'm coming from here. I've had arguments with people on the radio and on social media saying the lineup is the bigger issue than the bullpen. And I don't know what team you guys have been watching all year, but it's different than the team that I've been watching because the bullpen is much more the problem. So the priority should not be go trade for, I don't know, Byron Buxton. It should not be go trade for O'Neal Cruz. That's the name that's popped up recently. By the way, this is a perfect time to tell you that starting tomorrow's episode, we'll preview the series with the Yankees, but also we're going to run through some potential trade options for the Phillies. So I'll lay all that out for you on tomorrow's show, but we are going to start to break down with a couple days to the deadline what could happen as far as that's concerned. But this isn't trade for the big bat, right? It's trade for the big-time reliever. Get a bat that fits in somehow, just right-handed that can hit a little bit, maybe show a little bit of pop. But you have to balance the scales so that we know if Dave Dombrowski is doing what's in the best interest of this team. And it's very clearly not the lineup first. The lineup needs to get better. The bullpen needs to get much better. All right, coming up next, we're going to do a little off-day standings check-in. We haven't done this in a while because we had the All-Star break and everything, and this is the first off day since they came back from the break. So what's changed around baseball as we continue to push deeper into the month of July? We'll talk about it next as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about Monarch Money first, though, because if you ever wished managing your money felt easier, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. There are a lot of great things that Monarch Money does, but my favorite is the subscriptions that it will show you that let you know, hey, you're spending on this. Are you sure you want to be wasting $12.99 a month, $10.99 a month on something that you haven't used since September of 2021? Like, it helps you figure out exactly what you're spending money on that you shouldn't be and how much of your budget is going to places that maybe don't need that much, right? Like, if you're spending more money at the bar than you are on regular groceries, maybe that's something that can be corrected. Well, Monarch Money puts all of this together in one simple to use website. And that's why they're great, because you don't have to go multiple places to find all this stuff. No, it's all on Monarch Money. All your accounts, you can manage your accounts with like a joint partner. If you have joint accounts and stuff like that, they've thought of everything. And that's why you can use Monarch Money to not just maintain your money, but build your wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Go ahead and check them out at monarchmoney.com. An off-day standings check-in for the Philadelphia Phillies. And the good news is that they're still well above 500, 14 games to be exact. The bad news is they're no longer in first place in the National League East as of yesterday. The Mets took over that, but we will get to that. The biggest change in baseball is the top of the standings. No, it's not the Dodgers. No, it's not the Tigers. No, it's not the Cubs. The Milwaukee Brewers are the number one team in baseball right now, followed by the Houston Astros, followed by the Toronto Blue Jays. What in the world just happened in the middle of July? We come back from the All-Star break, and all of a sudden, no, it's not the Mets, Phillies, Tigers, Dodgers, Cubs, these teams that have been up near the top throughout the year. It's not the Yankees, who the Phillies will see tomorrow and over the weekend in New York. It's the Milwaukee Brewers. It's the Houston Astros. It's the Toronto Blue Jays. What in the world is going on? Now you think back and you say, well, the Phillies had a couple of rough series in a row, one against the Brewers, one against the Blue Jays. Interesting. Well, two of the series against the Blue Jays weren't their best. Maybe those teams were better than we gave them credit for. Hey, the Astros, maybe that was a tougher team than we gave them credit for. Now, it doesn't make you feel good that the Phillies struggled against some of those teams, but the Phillies are not in a bad spot. They're only 3 games back on the best record in baseball. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th in Major League Baseball in record. And that just tells you, right? They're 3 games back and they're 8th in overall standings. It's getting tight at the top. There are a lot of teams vying for what's going to happen. Some teams will separate. The Phillies schedule, relatively easy compared to some of these teams, so they'll figure it out. They're also relatively healthier than some of these teams, so hopefully they'll figure it out. But this just shows you, right, hey, you're going to have to start bearing down because there are teams making a push, and there are a lot of teams now who are in the buyer's market for the trade deadline. So that's the biggest thing to keep an eye on when it comes to the overall standings. A lot of teams at the top. In the National League, the Phillies are 5th. Now, obviously, they're still 3 games back from best record in the NL because the Brewers out of the NL Central have the best record in all of baseball. Something to keep an eye on is the Cubs have the 2nd best record in the National League. So that means the top wild card seed is going to be the Cubs, which means that the Phillies don't win the division. There's a good chance that they could be the 2nd wild card seed. And that is, my goodness, do we need to figure out how in the world we can win this division? I still think they do, but that's paramount with how these teams in the Central are playing. Then you got San Diego just not too far behind you. You got the Dodgers in there. So the NL Central being better than you thought is not ideal. I was under the impression that the NL West would be the division with a couple of teams up near the top and then the Dodgers ahead of everybody. Did not expect the Brewers and the Cubs to be where they are. So we'll see how that all plays out as far as the National League is concerned. There's no other worries as far as the division. Miami is 12.5 games back of Milwaukee. Atlanta is 16.5 games back in Milwaukee. Washington is 20 games back. Like, the NL East is a 2-team race. Speaking of, let's go to the NL East and let's take a look at where the Phillies are in the division because the Mets are now 59-44. The Phillies 58-44, a half game back in the division. The run differential for the Phillies is better than that of the Mets. The Phillies are plus 63. The Mets are plus 45. The Mets are really good at home, but they're under 500 by 6 games on the road. They don't play as well away from Citi Field. The Phillies, they're good at home, and they're 500 on the road. So the Phillies have some good tendencies when it comes to where they're winning and how they're winning. The problem is they just haven't really been able to hit a heater in a while. And the Mets have just been able to hang around by not really doing all that much. The Mets are 6-4 in their last 10 games. So it's not like they've been winning like crazy. The Phillies, 5-5. And the Mets have won 4 straight to get to that 6-4. So they still have their weaknesses, and they're starting to hit some injuries, and their rotation has fallen off. And I still think the Phillies are the better team there. But let's not pretend like the Phillies are going to run away with this thing. I don't think that's the case. I do think they win the division, but that just shows you how tight everything is getting. Now, the Phillies don't play the Mets for a while, not till August, and then not again till September. So you're not going to get these head-to-head matchups for a little bit, and you're still in that stretch of the schedule where you're playing these American League teams, which can be a little tough because you don't see them as much, you don't know them as well, things like that. The travel could be weird. So this is a chance for the Phillies to make up some ground, but also the stretch that we're really looking for, just to look forward at the schedule a little bit more. Once you get done with the Yankees, you round out the month with the White Sox. You start the month of August with a big one against the Tigers, but then Orioles are not that good of a team. Rangers are not that good of a team. They're okay. Reds are okay. Nationals stink. Mariners are okay. Nationals again. You have some winnable series, but you don't really have any real easy stretches coming up. So the Phillies are going to have to start playing better baseball and find that consistency. And maybe the trade deadline will do that, because if they keep going, hey, we have a great series here, an okay series, a bad series, they're just going to hang right around 500 the rest of the way. And I don't know that that's good enough to get them where they want to go in seeding, in the division, in the postseason. So those are the things to keep an eye on with the standings check-in. The Phillies are not in a bad spot, but that just shows you, right? They're sliding. When teams get hot and the Phillies are playing like they're playing right now, which is just maintaining, you're going to fall in the standings. You need to actively be increasing your margin above 500, and the Phillies just haven't done that. They're not failing, but they're not succeeding. They're just kind of in baseball purgatory for what feels like the past month, and we'll see if they snap out of that as they draw close to the trade deadline. New York, perfect time to do it, so we'll see if they can figure it out against the Yankees. Tomorrow's episode, we're going to look at a couple of those potential trade packages that I mentioned, but we're also going to preview that series with the Yankees. I'll be going up to Yankee Stadium for Friday's game and Saturday's game. So you might even get some content on like Sunday or Monday, live and in person from up there, enemy territory. But plenty to talk about still with the Phillies, as this is a busy, busy time of the baseball season. At least they won the series over the Red Sox. We'll see if they can win the series over the Yankees, and we'll talk more about that on our next episode. But that's all for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Once again, we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff that really helps us out. I appreciate that very much, and I'll talk to you tomorrow on our next episode of Locked On Phillies.